Folks, welcome inside the Parisi Palace, high above 3773 East Broadway. This is a live edition of the Jake Feinberg Show, coming to you on Power Talk. Please go to our website, powertalk.live. Download our free app to your smartphones so you can stream all of our live local programming, including Solomon on Blast, the Jim Parisi Show, and yours truly, the Jake Feinberg Show. And we can't thank you enough for making us part of your day today. And without further ado, it's just a high honor to bring in a cat who has been really locking the groove and playing melodically on the bass for the last 4 or 5 decades. Really steeped in R&B and soul music, but really came of age before the word funk even became part of our lexicon. And the other week I was going to do a Facebook Live interview with the great drummer Bill Maxwell. He said, yeah, I'm going to hook up, try to see if I can get PeeWee's studio. And I didn't know who this cat was. And I walk in, and we just had just a divine hang, and Bill and I had a ball, and I realized afterwards that my guest is somebody who's constantly, really, at the end of the day, trying to raise frequencies and ultimately the one universal vibration that this world has, which is rhythm, and rhythm is love. Robert PeeWee Hill, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
How you doing?
Good to hear you, brother.
All right.
I wanted to ask you just the concept of being in a situation with a band leader where it's highly unscripted, or maybe they go in with some kind of set list, but then the minute you hit the bandstand, it's out the window. And, you wind up in a situation where you get lost in, the band collectively kind of loses where the one is, the downbeat. And I wanted you to just talk about the idea of the PeeWee Hill concept of any note can be the one.
So you mean like when the band leader just started calling out songs, or he just
you know what it is, like the idea that you get into an improvisational jam. It doesn't even matter who the leader is or whether it's a structured. There's an opportunity in the song where you leave the head of the tune, and then collectively you're so into the music that you lose where the downbeat is, and just the idea and the idea that. A lot of times in funk and in soul and R&B music, people are very hung up on where the one is. And I've talked to a lot of cats who also realize that it's incredibly liberating when you can recognize as a unit that, even if you lose the one, you can come back in on any note can be the one. And I wanted to get your perspective on that concept.
Well, my concept, the one is just embedded in me. I feel the one. I'm not thinking about that one. It's just there. It's always there in my whole thing. So when I'm playing, I don't care how wild they go. I always feel the one, because that's where the funk is. So they may go off the map and do stuff like that, and you just go off there with them, and then you always just come back on that one because you just feel that. You don't think about that one.
Can you go a little bit deeper about, going back to, did you feel that one when you were in the womb? How did you learn? Because it's...
Well, that one comes, when you growing up, going to school and stuff, going to dances, this is before you even started playing an instrument.
Dig.
You dancing to the music, so funk, it becomes embedded in you then, because that's what you grew up on, even just dancing at dances, driving in your car, just listening to your favorite record, stuff. So it kind of grows in you then. When you're a little boy, just listening to, watching your parents have a party and dance, so it kind of develops then. That's where that one develops then. And then you can also, when you start playing music, then of course, as a beginner, when you start playing, you learn more about the one. Funk is not about, it's not about what you play. It's about what you don't play.
Right, the space within that's the music
right,
too. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's when you start getting in the whole, the whole theory of what not to play. Because, when you start learning your instrument, you want to play every note in the world. That's just part of the thing. But, it's you learn what not to play.
I was just thinking about it like from a bebop aesthetic. Those cats are just filling up. They're playing like schizophrenic sometimes. Just so many notes, so fast tempos, and then. Do you remember, like, growing up? I know for a fact, Horace Silver or these cats, they'd say, yo, let's play a funky blues, right? Like late 60s, let's play a funky blues. But there was no word in the lexicon referred to as funk. That came, do you remember when you first heard that word? Because it was not prevalent I don't think people started to really use that word until... you could say, maybe Sly. I don't know. Do you remember when you first heard that word?
Well, I can't remember when I heard it, but it was always there. That word, I grew up
really?
with that word.
But people said they wouldn't say let's play some funk. I'm talking like in the '60s they wouldn't say they may say let's play a funky blues. And I just know that word wasn't in the lexicon at that time. So,
Right.
Just in your mind, what is that? What does that term? I know how it makes me feel. I know how funk can let the body dance. But if you could describe that word
funk. Well, my version of funk is a feeling. The way I look at funk could be country. Funk is just a authentic feel that's authentic that moves you. Funk could be anything. Actually, the way I feel it, because if I'm playing different types of music with people, they're always going to hear that funk within that style of music. So I think to me, funk is just, that's going to the way other end of it, like George Clinton would say, funk could be, funk is whatever that's authentic, Of course, authentic could be, country or whatever, but we just play with the word that way, It's just real. Funk is real. It's not made up. It just felt.
So it's a feel more, or is it is the authenticity of the feel within the rhythm itself?
Right. It's just a feel. It just funk. Everything you do, it's got to be funky. That term. It's just real. It's not nothing that you study. You could study funky music, but what's in your heart, you just got to have that in your heart. It just comes out of you. You just understand it.
Dude, this is such a great hang already with PeeWee Hill here on the Jake Feinberg Show. I want to read you this quote I did from an interview I did with Gordon Edwards, great bass player in Stuff.
Uh-huh.
And this is what he said. He said, I feel the one, and everybody feels the one. Black people, we clap on 2 and 4, and when I started working with the country guys, they would clap on 1 and 3. That can tell you right there that any note can be the one. White people look funny when they dance. My cousin was Chris White. I used to hang out with him, and he would be strictly into jazz. I was always confused and thinking, what the hell are they playing? It seemed like someone would put a horn in their mouth and any note they pressed was cool. I said, "What is that you're doing?" Chris would say, "He was grooving." Then he would take me to see guys like Wes Montgomery, who I could understand a little better because he played a lot on the 2 and 4. I lived right next to the Cornerstone Baptist Church on Lewis Ave in Putnam in Brooklyn. And if you notice one thing about the music, the treble clef can get lost. For some reason, you don't hear the bass. I was hearing 2 and 4 in my dreams while the church was going on bump, bump. I didn't know I was taking lessons when I was sleeping, but all of a sudden I woke up. Bump, 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 bump. It got to the point where I loved tuba. What's more of a 2/4 instrument than a tuba? That's me. I love the 2 and the 4. And I guess, the question is, I think you vetted it pretty well, but what was like the freest music, most free-form music band that you ever played in, where you were able to develop a telepathy with the rhythm section so that, because if there's a quality and an aesthetic to playing improvisational music, and if it's not done correctly, it can be a mess. It can really sound like a mess.
Right.
I mean, so funk to me can be not restrictive, but it can be real tight. It can be real
right
in the pocket. I mean, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But what was the freest musical experience that you've ever had, and how you kept the glue together with the rhythm section so that it didn't become a mess?
When I played in Billy Preston's band, that was real free, but it held down that funk. Billy just, he's like a genius. He is just the music that comes out of him. You just have to follow him, and so that was a lot of free stuff. And then I played with this drummer from Genesis named Chester Thompson.
Oh.
We had more of a fusion funk band. So he would, he likes to take it way out there, And so, that band was pretty much kind of crazy, actually. But it never lost the one. But they would go, he would take it all kind of places. And then we'd just kind of follow where he's going, but it's still, everything we do is funk though, but it could be out there, you know what I'm saying?
I want you to go a little, so with Billy, when you say it was free, I mean, what does that mean compared to, because I mean, that was that?
Well, that means that he would give you the concept, but he would have a song, but he would just go by what he feel too on stage.
Exactly.
You just have to follow where he's going. Because it's stuff that's not rehearsed. It's the stuff that I'm talking about. We'll be playing something, and we always know the song, but then he would just turn it into a jam session. Just spontaneous doing things.
That to me is what I wanted to ask you about. Your advice to younger cats about not getting insecure when someone goes on. I mean, there's nothing more exhilarating than improvisational.
Well,
Go ahead.
So like, here's the thing. My advice to other bass players is that if you want to always sound tight on stage, I don't care if you know the song well and there's a drummer sitting there. The drummer is always the boss. So if you want to always sound tight, always listen to that drummer's kick pattern, and just always follow. You could be playing. He could be playing wrong, but if you following his kick pattern, you still tight. So people gonna love it. But so you never ignore that kick drum as a bass player. You always listen to that kick drum, because if he started off like, I mean, just for example, if the song goes like this, then you get. But if he start playing, well, then you change your bass pattern. So then you will always feel like you know what you're doing. So the kick drum is always the boss.
Now, did you going with Chester? I mean, was it Chester the leader of the band, or he just was? Was there like?
Well, he started his own fusion band.
Wow. So this is so. Were there like bar lines, or like it just would go off? And I guess the most important thing is, like, we
Well,
yeah.
Well, we started like this. The way he used to write, we used to just go in his studio, and we would just start playing anything off the top of our heads. This song could last for about 20 minutes. Somebody would just start a riff or something. Then we take that riff and join with him, and then that riff would develop to another riff. It just goes forever. And then Chester would listen to the whole jam and cut pieces out that he liked, that we did, and then put a song together.
This was just but I mean, he would actually lay his drum track over what he liked, or would he play?
No, he would just listen to what we did, and then he'd say, "Hey man, right there, that is bad right there." And then 5 minutes later, it may be another part that would match that for a change. He said, "Let's do this, and then make this the change over here." So then that's how we'll put a piece together, just off of a jam session.
So all the way from, I mean, I guess in your mind, has there ever been a music? I mean, I hate genres, but can you think of a time when there was a music that humbled you to the point where you really had to go and shed for a while? I mean, so many of the cats that I interview, I mean, they might have.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah. Go ahead.
There is that Peruvian Latin stuff. When I started playing around with Alex Acuna, that stuff you didn't grow up with. That was hard. That you had to humble yourself and kind of figure out their rhythms when you get into that kind of stuff. You know, working with, that South American jazz and all that stuff in Peru, that stuff is going to get difficult.
Let me ask you though, because that's different. I mean, I've interviewed Candido and guys like David Rubinson who did albums for Mongo. And the Afro-Cuban thing is one thing, but the Peruvian, you're not talking. What is it? How is the groove different between the Peruvian bossa stuff, the South American stuff, versus the Afro-Cuban stuff, or is it the same? Is it just a clave with a different?
Well, I'm not that deep off into the difference of those two,
right?
But I know where Alex Acuna came from. I know that their music could get very difficult in rhythms.
For the layperson, how would they be? I mean, it was because like you were following the kick drum. You talked about that. I mean, how would they get more difficult and rhythmically?
It's the rhythm that is different. It's stuff that you just ain't used to, that you didn't grow up with. That's what makes it different.
I dig. Yeah, I dig.
You didn't grow up with that. So where they feeling it at, you're not used to that. You just say, well, where you at? It's just somewhere else,
I mean, this is really important because a lot of people, because I'm sure it was maddening at first because it wasn't the way you danced. It wasn't the way you were dancing.
Right.
And the thing is that.
The way they dance.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, the question is, did you shed a lot on your own, or was really the only way to get comfortable with it working it out on the bandstand?
Well, you had to just shed and just try to feel it, try to learn how they felt that. That's the whole thing that will make you get it, is you try to learn the way they feel. Of course, a good way is to see how they dance into it too. But you just have to try to learn how do they feel right there. Where's they feeling at? because that's what music is all is. It's about the feeling. You see that type of stuff. You can't think about it, and if you think about it, you're never going to get it because it's too difficult and how different it is.
Right, right. So I mean, but so was there like a gradient or a curve with Acuna where how long it took you to stop, to get out of your mind and drop into your primordial gut so you could feel that kind of rhythm?
Yeah, the more you do it, then the more you start understanding it, and then at least you can learn that one song that he wants you to play. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of million more that you that you would have to learn too. So that type of stuff, you just have to kind of dig into it and then learn a lot of songs and learn how to play those songs. Then it'll start falling natural, to what it feels like.
Talking to PeeWee Hill here on the Jake Feinberg Show. We got a game on this program called Name That Voice. I'm going to put this in for you. I want you to pay attention to what he's talking about, and then we'll come back and break it down.
Oh, you had to. There's a certain, the feeling of loss and emptiness is the first emotion you feel. And, where do you go from here? I used to work at the Audubon ballroom where Malcolm X was killed. Assassinated, I should say. And so things like that happening, they really hit, close to home. And it actually just fueled my music and made me more, I guess, knowingly and knowingly, you cannot help but take that out the equation. And it becomes part of your conscious DNA that you just do things a certain way to get certain things done. You want to make an impression. I'm sure it affected my music. I can't pick out. I guess maybe the best examples of some of that expression come out with stuff I did with B.B. King, of free expression, because we just went for it, and he accepted what we did. And I found out years later that's exactly what he wanted, to change his music.
I interviewed Bert Holmes. I don't
know who that is.
Yeah, you shouldn't have any idea that you probably know who he is Jerry Jamot.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You know that cat, the bass player?
No, I don't know him personally.
Of course not. No, I mean, but you know who he was.
So I know the name. Yeah.
Exactly. Prolific bass player, studio cat, and did everything from B.B. King to. To Dwayne Allman. I mean, he's been everywhere. But the thing I wanted you to talk about is, and you can even relate this to because your entire family is musical, your wife and your daughter. I mean, so much. I mean, Jerry came up in the 60s, and so many of the cats that I interview, that was kind of their time. And quite frankly, the jazzers especially were kind of left alone because they were left alone to do their own thing. But then you had John F. Kennedy assassinated, and you had Martin Luther King assassinated, and you had Robert Kennedy assassinated. You had Malcolm X, he mentioned. And the question that I had for him that I didn't play for you was, how much of that anguish and that grief was poured into your music, and ultimately how did it change the music? And I feel like today, in so much music, because of technology, you can perfect music and you can make it perfect, but you sterilize it in so many ways, and you lose that sort of raw sociological quality of the music. And I just wonder if, in your career, how much of, obviously you want to, you have gigs, you want to do what the band leader says, but was there a social consciousness component to your drive and to your playing and to the bands you worked with?
Well, you talking about far as
if you go back and listen to Max Roach's Percussion Bittersweet, that's a homage to the motherland.
Right.
If
Yeah.
you go, I mean, I'm not saying it was protest music, but it was message music. The music was message music.
Right.
Sly's music was
Right.
message music. I mean, that's what I'm
Right.
getting at.
Right.
Is like, when did that come into your consciousness, if ever?
You mean like the message and stuff of it?
I'm just saying when you realize that it was really a lot more. You talk about feeling, but I mean, you know, like I mean, I don't know if he said it in that, but Jerry Jamal was playing at the Audubon Ballroom the night he found out Malcolm X was assassinated. You know, and
Right.
you know, I mean, that's going to have a profound effect, especially during a time when ultimately there was a big push towards civil rights. And to me, really just comes down to when did you realize that that the music was a lot more than just the notes on the page, and that it was actually a tool or a vehicle to drive consciousness.
Right. My wife and Judith, is more. They more conscious of meshes and words and what draws you in and stuff. My whole thing is that I'm focusing more on the bass, the feeling.
I dig. No, I mean, but Mingus would go to blows with people if they were talking to. I'm not saying you did that, but anyway, continue. I know you're focused on cooking the groove.
Like the groove, it's like you say. A lot of the music today is played with the machines and everything, and what they lost the human spirit, because you can't replace that. You know how you would hear a Aretha Franklin record or something, and it just the anointing and power that comes off that record.
Yeah.
Okay, we kind of lost that today because there is no anointing and power in machines. With a one guy sequencing the whole track, there's pretty much a computer playing the track. The only power that you get off that track is when he probably started rapping. You could feel him. But there's a lot of humanness is taken out of the music today. So my whole thing is I like to just have humans play instruments much as they can, and not not getting it. I hate these bands today that you playing live and you playing with the sequence. Everything is recorded. It's like you
awful. Yeah.
Trying to, like, they want you to clone another moment. It should be your moment right then and the now. It should never be replaced by a recording that was done back at another time.
Absolutely, and that speaks to me to this idea of do you believe that that shift? Obviously, you could talk about. I mean, Mike Clark from the Headhunters. He remembers that producers would all of a sudden start telling him just on recording sessions, just play straight beats. Play straight beats. Don't play yourself, because those beats were the ones that were on hit pop music. So just play the same beat as pop records. He remembers that in the mid '70s. So did the bean counters, and maybe your daughter runs into this today, but people that are only caught up in making sure that the bottom line is essential and therefore comping is key, did people that have no idea about the music become too involved with the creation of the music, and is that why we're at this place?
That's the problem. That's where we at right now. It's mostly, almost you would say, is just robots. It's just like the people that's making the music. Probably half of them don't even know what a chord is.
Exactly.
Just good example. Good example. I won't call no names out.
No.
But this guy, this famous rapper, he was a friend of Quincy Jones, and he said, "Quincy, man, I'm I'm going to broaden myself, man. I'm going to have a string session. And Quincy said, oh, that is great. Man, to put live people's strings on your music. Quincy thought it was a great thing. And then so he saw the guy the following week and said, so how did the session go? And the guy said this, oh, man, those guys couldn't come up with nothing.
because they were too locked into comping other people.
Well, no, it's just the screen players ain't supposed to come up with nothing. They're supposed to be charted out, you know. And so that's a good example. The people that's running the music don't have a clue about how music is built and how it's, the theory of it. They don't know what a chord is. They don't, they just know how to program. And that's kind of where we lost it at today. Is they took the music out of the schools, so there is no interest in playing real instruments. The real instruments today, see, back in the 70s, we had garage bands and the music came out of school. So it was built on a jam, playing live.
Absolutely.
Stuff,
Oh, yeah.
But today, only the musicians is coming out of the church because there's no more schools. So they learn out of the churches now.
And they're also taking in electronic beats. They're not hearing. Unless you go way back and start to dig into the legendary drummers of yesteryear, chances are you're dividing beats. You're not really playing yourself because you've been just raised on and it's so it's very. Even those drummers who have the ability and the dexterity to play all this stuff, it still sounds robotic because that's all they've been listening to their whole lives is machines.
It's machines because that's what they've been born in. They was born up with the machines. So, they think the concept of a drummer is supposed to be what they heard of, what was programmed all their life.
Right.
And so, for a good example, one of these mixers got a hold to a session he was supposed to mix, and he said this, man, I can't mix this, man. The kick drum is loud and soft sometimes, loud and soft. I can't do it. It's got to be the same level. It's got to be at 10 all the time. So he took the whole velocity out of the kick because that's what he hears. That's how he grew up with drum machines.
Exactly.
But a real drummer is, is velocity. It's touch sensitive. So they don't understand that.
It's touch sensitive. That is the most brilliant thing I've heard in a long time. It has to be quantized or they're totally flummoxed by the whole thing because that. And I don't know, it is the most, people also say they love, legendary studio drummers would say, like Russ Kunkel, the only, sort of meaningful part of hip hop is the lyrics because you can't listen to the rhythms because it becomes too tedious after a while. I wonder how, in your mind, have we already crossed the Rubicon? Has technology superseded humanity? And I think the other part that's very upsetting to me at a pop level is that they're anointing people who, like you said, they can't read a chord, they can't even play live, and yet people are buying their music in mass.
Right, because that's all the kids. That's what they target is the teenager kids, and they was born with it like that.
But so that lack of authenticity.
What a great singer.
Yeah.
A good example, you look at those voice shows, they don't even pick a great singer when great singers come on there. They always get voted off. But they pick characters, marketing tools, sexual tools.
Absolutely.
What they can sell.
Absolutely. No, I mean, they dress them up like cowboys, but they're not real cowboys or
Right.
whatever it is, you know?
Right. You know, and then so you know, the wrong people got a hold of the business. See, back in the '70s, Barry Gordy, they was all musical. They was all they knew about music. But today we have bankers, we have people like that don't have a clue about music, just want to know what sells.
Money, greed is the greed factor is overwhelming. I mean, this is my second Cats book is going to come out, and Bernard Purdy, I did an interview with him. And I assume it was someone like Jerry Wexler who was overseeing this session. He said the reason that particular record, Rocksteady, took off and did what it has done for me worldwide, with the drum break on itself, that happened because a piece of music fell off Aretha's piano. We were supposed to be going back into another verse, but the music fell off, and we just kept on going. It's history. There wasn't no big. Was no big deal about something that was happening. She was signaling for somebody to come and pick up the music because she was grooving. We didn't stop. We just kept on going. It's the most beautiful thing you'd ever want to hear, because that particular take, we were never able to duplicate it in the same way. We played another 20 or 30 more takes, but nothing came out like that. Chuck Rainey, what he played, Cornell Dupree, Donny Hathaway, and Aretha playing piano, and just, I mean, so. To me, I guess here's the other sort of technical, not really technical question. But you were talking about that cat, the program people who can't handle the touch sensitive stuff. When did you notice dynamics being taken out of pop music? I mean, there was a period of time. You turn it up to 10 now, and it never changes. There's no dynamics in pop music. And in music in general.
It started in the '90s.
Just can you hit me to like when you kind of were like, there's no dynamic range in this tune? When did that? Do you remember when you first heard a song like that? Because, I
don't remember exactly what it just kind of grew in you. Like when they started off, it started off with these drum machines that they made. It started off there, and then back in the early '90s, and stuff started stuff started getting sequenced, and more, and then that's when I just back in the '90s you just knew it just there's no more dynamics. It just everything is just in your face and real compressed and loud, and so that's when it became machine music.
How does your daughter navigate in the music world today? I mean,
she's doing a great thing. She didn't fall into that. She's like a old soul, She does real music, and she it's got a lot of heart into it, and she keeps it real for the audience, because the audience still loves real music, and they just eats it up. And when they get a chance to hear real music, they really get entertained. So the companies is the one that tries to keep the real music from the people. So she just doing her own thing and trying to get her real stuff out there. To let people hear it.
Let's talk about it. I mean, so you're talking about real music. What are the tenets of real music?
Well, real music is real human.
Right. Okay. So it's real humans.
Yeah, plan and creating on the spot, creating, what the song is, plan, and just letting them see it fall out of the people live, real. This is real. Not someone have a sequence track behind you like Pro Tools, and then whatever they need to play, they might let the bass player play. You could play, but everything else is programmed. That's machine. That's just a show. Well, then they just start dancing to all the tracks and everything. That's just the show part of it.
That's just the choreographed part of it. Yeah,
they,
exactly.
yeah, but the people love real talent, and that's what she tries to give them.
When she goes into the studio, you said the companies try to prevent the people from, I've been saying this for a long time, where they don't want the people to hear the real music. I mean, because how does that?
I wouldn't say if they don't want it or not. They just taught to just follow whatever they think sells. They want everybody to sound alike. They don't just want to put out good music. They want to put out sound alike music. If Beyonce the biggest thing out there, then you better sound like her.
That is the most dangerous thing for our society. In my mind, I think it's incredibly devastating. It's not just because it's depressing. It's also this idea of saying you must conform, and if you're really trying to be yourself, don't even bother. We don't want to hear. We just want to create droids. We just want to create. Right. I mean, I think that's the thing, is that Phil Ranelin, great trombonist, he was on the road with the Temptations, and he was a original session cat when Motown was still in Detroit, and just a badass all around. And he just said, they make music now for pacification. They don't want people to really feel the music. They want to make it for multitasking or to pacify. And I couldn't think. Right. I mean, you look where we're at in our country right now. I just know that talking to guys who were around during other times of strife, Watergate, Vietnam era, assassinations, when there was humanity in the music, no matter how bad it got in society, the music was always there. Powerful. So that's kind of why I played that Jamaat quote.
And that's what they're afraid of. It's just the power of music, what music does, and so, the companies, they're not thinking about that, what's good. They're thinking about who they could control and how they could control the money, because none of the artists really, I mean, they're all in jail. They don't get, they don't get paid the way they should. The rich people is the producers and the company, the head of the company, and that's the artist. The artist is you just told what to do, and that's the way it is. You just told what to do. You don't have a voice. You're gonna play what this guy writes for you, and you're gonna sing what this guy writes for you. So they don't have any. When you hear singers out there that's made it big, you don't hear what they do. You hear what the producers do on them. So they just clone. They just supposed to open up their mouth, and then you hear what the producers do on them.
As far as Judith is concerned, does she just? I guess the template for, because I mean, she comes from. I mean, it's clear that the music chose you. It found you. And your wife. And so, what is the template for younger creatives who want to be themselves in order to survive and not starve to death in the music industry? Because the other issue is that the other thing that we're, aside from dynamics and drum machines, there really is no touring circuit today. I mean, not the way there once was. It's just, and that is another major problem, because you used to have record companies, they'd write off losses on these tours. It didn't matter because the listening medium was records, and they'd make their money tenfold off the albums. So, I mean, how does your daughter, how does she navigate?
Well, she navigates because she goes to the places that haven't lost it. Europe is a place that loves real talent, real live music. They loves it in all those countries. So only ones that's really polluted is Hollywood, you know.
Jeez, that's
And
pretty
it's
depressing, man. God, I know it's
right.
true, but
So Hollywood, you know, Hollywood, you're not going to have no middle grounds. You're going to have either the Beyonce people, Beaver, and all those people doing this, and there's no middle shows there. You either got that or you just got the little nightclub things where you have to pay the nightclubs to play, you know, and everything. So you don't have that concert like you get in Europe. You know, when we go to Europe, it'd be seas of people just everywhere. From 18 to 65. I mean, they just buy tickets. It's just like what it used to be. You know, like in the 60s and 70s. They just buy tickets.
right.
They sell out those rooms. They enjoy the music. They get an autograph. I mean, they love music in Europe all over. It's just here.
Now, aside from her parents being where you guys are, why would she stay here?
Well, she would get a break to where someone will come along and let her in that door. It's just a matter of just sticking to who you are, and because once she hits that stage, whenever she hits the stage out here, they cannot deny it.
Absolutely, no. What I'm saying is, I mean, it's almost, but it's still in her mind worth waiting for that once in a blue moon crack, as opposed to.
Well, she's not waiting for it. She just enjoying the gift that the Lord has given.
I dig.
So she's not waiting for them. She takes it to the people that she's able to take it to, and that satisfies her.
Tell me what clubs locally or in and around Southern California does she take does she take the power to the people?
You mean like clubs out here?
Yeah, the ones that truly when she gets on stage, it's undeniable. You know, I mean, where does she?
Oh yeah. Well, like we did the Troubadour about a year or so ago, and those clubs, you know, stuff like that. Still, you know, you still got, you know, got the Troubadours and all those Sunset, Roxy, and all those stuff. That whenever you could, you know, get in there and get backing behind you, those things, you know, people come to those, and the people loves it, you know.
Right. Are there clubs where she can just get stuff out of her system? I just know as a musician, you need to get stuff out of your system.
Yeah. Like there's a lot of great clubs out there. I can't think of the names of them, but there's a lot of stuff on Sunset and around LA, and you know, all that underground stuff. There are some great bands out there playing that stuff too. There's some, you know, you got, you know, it just that they're not in mainstream, but the kids out there playing today are very talented. I mean, they ain't messing around, but it's just all underground, you know.
Well, when I hear that, and my question is that it is underground. It is off the grid. It's not mainstream, and that's the other thing that's creeped into the zeitgeist in this country is that, and I just want you to we've been kind of talking about it, but you know, I remember Gregorico when I did that Woodstock 50th anniversary interview. He said, or I think Michael Shreve was talking like Sly would not go on stage until he was paid in cash. So he didn't go on until 3 a.m. at Woodstock.
Oh,
okay. And obviously people have been ripped off since the beginning of time. But I wonder, I just wonder truly. I mean, okay, you get backing and you go to the Troubadour and you have a 3-night run or whatever it is, you're going to get some money for that. Okay, I get that.
Right.
But all of a sudden with younger cats, it's you can play for the door or you can pay to play. So my question for PeeWee Hill is, how has the significance of music changed in our culture? And do you believe, honestly, that a musician is still seen as a profession, or is music a musician's gift to the world in 2019, 2020?
Well, it's seen as a professional still in certain places, but it always will be the gift to the world because people can't do without it. And a musician is gonna play, and he's gonna play no matter what, because that's just what's in his heart to do. And so, as far as the gift to the world, a musician always going to make it a gift to the world, because even if they ain't getting paid, they're going to play. So they're going to give the gift out.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but as far as profession, making money, it's happening. We are making a living. But it's not like it was in the 70s. But it still comes around somehow.
Well, I guess here's the other thing. There's no doubt that there's livings to be made. Are you satisfied with the gigs that you get? Because I'm sure there's sometimes with modern music where you're being asked to process stuff and it's antithetical to the groove, the way you grew up with music. I mean, I understand.
Right.
You don't want to. Yeah.
Well, we're satisfied when we go to Europe and everything.
How often do you go there?
Out here,
yeah.
you just have to. You have to. There are good gigs out here and stuff, but they just spread it out. You just got to be in the clique to get them, because it's not that much of them, and usually, people call the same people. So the pot is it's very controlled. Even like the smooth jazz scene, you see the same probably 10 bands doing all of them,
You said that word "click." I mean, it's the Jake Feinberg show is the farthest thing from that. It just it boggles my mind that we've gotten to a point where I mean, I understand even back in the day, there were probably maybe 4 dozen studio cats that they'd have major work in the studios, but
see, back in the day, not just the studio. What was great back in the day, it was just so much music going around. You had the record guys and you had the demo guys. So back in the days, everybody was making money because you had to demo the stuff before you cut it as a record. So they had demo sessions and record sessions. So they had 2 big things going on then, and today, records is just pretty much gone.
Gone. I mean, and even if it was a demo session, yeah. I mean, you
have to make music, but it don't sell no more because the technology done blew it. They done did so much technical stuff that they can't even sell a record now. So it's a whole nother animal today, and no one's really figured it out yet. But it's moving to something.
Well, yeah, and I just don't, at a certain point, it's you've sort of crystallized it for me, because I can't think of anything more depressing than, I don't know. I mean, making a record and maybe you're making some money on it, but that it was completely processed and you had really no creative control in that final product. That to me would, right. If I was a true artist, I'd have a really hard time. I mean, I get it. I mean, things need to be edited.
Well, we love our instruments, so regardless, we're going to find something, regardless. There is stuff out there, but, the problem is they got all these machines, and one guy sits in his bedroom and make the whole record, and that's what kind of, it's just what can you do to put humans out of work and pay less to get something done and sell it. It's still greed, you know what I mean?
Big time.
So, so the ones that has too much power is all these owners of these record companies and stuff. People just let them have too much power.
Yeah, and there's no time for these people because it's only about money to have any kind of artist development. You know, I mean, all the great cats from
Right.
back in the day, I mean, they didn't necessarily have a hit record right off the bat. It took time, but they were it was just like a farm system in baseball, or you know,
Right. Yeah.
you cultivated that because you saw the talent. And today, you drop a seed, you plant a seed, you don't even give it time to grow. You're just planting another seed right away. You don't really let anything germinate. So it's I just, tell me about, before we wrap up part one here, tell me about, I was so heartened to hear that Freddy Stewart is still playing his butt off and better than ever before. Can you talk about Freddie and what he's up to these days?
Man, Freddie, man, is still in his prime.
This is unbelievable. I mean, it was one of the greatest
He
surprises. Yeah.
sings, man, his range and voice sounds better than probably what it was back in the 70s. And he's still in his prime. He's still writing stuff, and he's still trying to get out. So he wants to come out. He wants to do it, but like I say, the system is so changed so much. He would have to start in Europe, where the people enjoys music and still know you. And he would have to, but he's making great songs, and he's just somebody that could be a big hit today, but they would never allow it because it's too much politics in what they're doing today. But he's in his prime.
Wow. Well, PeeWee, I mean, this. Let's try to set up a time to do part two. It was just so great to meet you a few weeks ago and get your perspective on the air about all these things, because a lot of people that have been on the earth a lot longer than us, drummers, people like that, feel like there has to be a complete collapse of the economy and civilization in order for new music to ever grow, because, like you said, it's a totally different animal today, and the greed is so high that it's kind of naive to think that anything short of a complete dissolution of civilization would actually allow us to get back to a different time, because we're so far gone. I hope it's not true,
Right.
but just the way you're talking about it right now, thank God for Japan, thank God for Europe, because I'm not sure what would go on without that. And
well, thank God for all the countries, actually, Africa, all of them. It's just America.
wow.
It's just America. They done had too much control over the music, and they just damaging it. They're gonna make it worse and worse if you leave it in their hands. You gotta have the music lovers have to be back in charge.
Yeah, and the people that allow the musicians to create the work on the fly, like
Right.
when the music fell off the stand and with Aretha, and they didn't tamper with it because they could
Right.
never get that feel again.
Right.
Because they were all, and you have a lot more control now with technology, because technology doesn't talk back to you, and technology doesn't necessarily have attitude, and it would be, you wouldn't have talked like, if Aretha liked the feel of that tune, you weren't going to tell her any differently. But now it's kind of like you got people that don't know what they're doing saying, well, if you really want to make a record with us, then you're going to do it this way, and we don't really care how you want to do it.
Right.
So it's about giving more power back to the musicians, and anyway, we'll try to continue to square that circle. But Robert PeeWee Hill, really an honor, man. Thank you so much. I'll get this up online later today, and we'll stay in touch, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sound great. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, man. Great hang, dude. We'll talk soon.
Okay. All right. Talk to you later.
Later, man.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Robert PeeWee Hill, live on the Jake Feinberg Show. We'll be back with Chris Harford after this.